Right. Thank you so much for making time and for joining us on this very special edition of our special podcast that is going to be highlighting a very important event in the accounting calendar of activities. And of course, we're counting days to the 4th edition of the East African Congress of Accountants. It's coming here in Rwanda for a full 4 days, just to be able to bring together public accountants or those within that particular profession right here in Rwanda to try and explore several issues that affect this particular profession that is ever changing. It is coming down under the theme of Beyond Borders, Exploring Global Perspectives. And of course, we will be having a guest right here to speak to us and just to share his own perspectives as far as the preparation of this particular Congress is concerned, and a lot of other issues in terms of catching up in that particular sense. If you're joining us for the very first time, if you're hearing me for the first time, as always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Thank you so much for joining us, and this particular podcast is proudly powered by the Institute of Public Accountants of Rwanda, Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda. Thank you so much, David Musoke Kezio, for joining us. He is definitely a very good friend of mine. It's been a long time, David. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much for hosting me. Glad to be here.
I mean, from the days when we last saw each other, I think it goes back almost
15 years,
close to 2 decades.
Yes. When we were still reporters, political reporters. Then went into business. We dived into a lot of aspects, including telecom.
Right.
And then we went into management.
Right.
And now you're a CEO.
I can say I'm super proud of you as well, in terms of the consistency in actually remaining grounded, particularly on the aspect of the communications space
is my DNA right now.
And yes, and maybe share with us a bit of insights of why Kezio is here, because I have a little buddy that has whispered in my ear, told me Kezio is actually among the people who are behind the scenes preparing for the 4th East African Congress of Accountants.
Thank you very much for hosting me. So I'll just dive into the question very fast. And I'm also feeling very glad that I am being hosted by you, because you're not a very small media personality in this country. And also, it's been long since I last saw you. So I'm feeling very happy to be here.
Right.
So my work, as you've stated, is communications and public relations. And what I do right now is that I support different brands to communicate better and manage their reputations, but also communicate effectively. And yes, the little bird is right, because I'm part of the EACOA team as a comms specialist and consultant. And I'm not an accountant, so I need to put that disclaimer. But I represent the voice of EACOA in the sense that I manage the brand in terms of their communications aspect.
Right.
And EACOA, which is an acronym for Institute of Certified Public Accounts of Rwanda, is the host of EACOA. As you've stated, it's the East African Congress of Accountants. So that sounds very wordy. So we've decided to shorten it to EACOA. And the event is happening from the 16th to the 19th of April, so we're just counting days. I don't know whether I leave you to ask me the next question or should I preempt it?
No, do not preempt. I think that's the challenge with us people within the comms. Yes. I find it very difficult, by the way, to be the one being interviewed.
Yes.
I always almost turn the conversation around into now being the person interviewing the person who's supposed to be interviewing me. But David, thank you so much for sharing the perspectives in terms of setting the tone for this conversation, because we're going to delve a lot into the East African Congress of Accountants, like you've shortened it as EACOA. Coming to Rwanda, because we know the country as a very straightforward in terms of the leadership of this country. Public accountancy is something that, especially within the public sector, accountability is something that is very held very strongly within the realms of governance in this particular country. But talk to us a bit about how this Congress coming to Rwanda would be of significance for the public accounting profession?
That's a very interesting and challenging question, mainly because, as I put a disclaimer, I'm not an accountant, but I'm happy to speak because I'm part of the organizing committee. So let me just talk a little bit, just dive a little bit into what EACOA is for the layman out there.
Yeah.
So EACOA is it's an event which is biennial. It brings, like you've said, it brings together accounting professions and professionals and industry bearers and policymakers and all stakeholders related to that industry from across East Africa and even beyond, actually, for almost a week-long event that is dedicated to advancing the profession of accounting in the region. Briefly, basically, that's what it does. For this particular one, the one previously was held in Uganda amidst COVID-19. COVID-19, right?
Yes.
And, it was kind of challenging, but they managed to pull it off. And then they passed on the baton to Rwanda. And for this particular edition, we are expecting over 800 regional participants. And, to physically attend, but also the event will be held in a virtual or in a hybrid format. And we expect at least or even slightly over 300 virtual delegates to attend. Anyone can attend. All you have to do is to just log on.
So I do not have to be an accountant.
You don't have to be an accountant.
Okay.
And so, deliberations basically crafted to come up with solutions that are underlining challenges within the accounting professions that are affecting the regions and the economies, the regional economies. It's very important to note that EACOA is jointly organized by what we call the East African Community Institutes of Accountants. Like the way you see EACOA. So each country has one of those.
Right.
And these are institutes that in a layman's language regulate the accounting profession. So they're in terms of certification, of licensing, of offering examinations, and that's in the layman's language. So in Kenya, for example, you will have Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya.
Right.
In Tanzania, we'll have the National Board of Accountants and Auditors. And then in Uganda, you'll have the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. And then in Burundi, and I hope I get this right because it's in French.
The French one, yes.
It's called the Ordre des Professionnels Compatibles du Burundi.
All right, you tried.
I apologize for if I don't get the accent right. So basically, that's what it is. And we've put up a list of some notable keynote speakers and experts. And one of them includes Khalid Hamid, the international director of SIPFA, and Professor Pierre Lumumba, whom I'm sure you know very well, the founder of PLO Lumumba Foundation. So, I just want to give that little bit of background before I delve into the question. I don't know if
you've done a good job, actually.
Okay. So, Rwanda was selected to host EACOA, but that you live in Rwanda, so you know the leadership of the country and how it's so committed to making sure that it demonstrates a commitment in building capacity of the accounting profession and strengthening the accounting infrastructure. So for EACOA to come to Rwanda, it kind of shows a certain importance in investing in human capital development. I'm sounding like a government official, which I really don't want to. But I think in terms of, let me give you one example. There is a commitment to develop what they call the MICE industry.
Yes.
And MICE is an acronym that means meeting, incentives, conferences, tourism. and when you have events like this, other than serving the purpose and the objective of the theme, they also kind of there is a certain level of investing in economic growth, because the delegates bring dollars, but they get to see the country, and they get to want to come back after seeing the commitment the government has put in making sure that there is a certain level of development.
Right.
So it's very relevant to in that kind of aspect.
Interesting. And I want to say this because we've seen Rwanda on a streak of major events coming here, and I think like you just mentioned, there's an expectation of that ripple effect down to the economy in terms of the guests that come and how they spend within the country. Let's talk a bit about this theme. It's very interesting. Beyond Borders, Exploring Global Perspectives. And I ask this because I would like to understand, probably if you can just give us an inside look of the overall need to have such a theme, coming at a time when there's a lot of global shocks that are happening outside, but here we are we are saying we need to explore global perspectives, because I was at an event the other time, and I had one of the speakers say, we need to actually think global or we will die local. And so we should stop that perspective of thinking just within our artificial borders. But talk to us a bit about how this theme is expected to achieve the overall results that EACOA is expected to come down with.
Okay, so part of my job is to market the event to attract as many people as possible. Yeah. And sometimes themes can be either a turn on or a turn off. And this theme for EACOA 2024 has been well crafted. Beyond Borders, Exploring Global Perspectives, suggesting forward thinking and inclusive approach towards the event. So you could think of it as a way of encouraging participants and those who are following the proceedings and the deliberations to look beyond the traditional boundaries, because some of these practices are thought of being too traditional, in a way that they can embrace diversity, because when you open up borders, you are exposed to different societies, different practices, different cultural nuances, and also gain insights from a global perspective. Because when you do that, then you drive innovation and you drive excellence, and all this is in relation to the accounting profession. Right.
And you touched on something, especially when it comes to inclusivity. And that is something that I think I would like to hear your perspective, because you've been within this communications field for quite some time, and of course you've covered different stories, including those stories within the economy perspective. And when we talk about the accountancy profession, or those within this space that major or many of the participants will be coming from, you kind of have a feel that it seems to be a male-dominated field. It could be a perception, but in many cases, it turns out to be the sad reality. Okay. Let's talk a bit about how EACOA would, or how the ladies, the females within this accountants profession, or the public accounting profession, would be able to push in for their voices to be heard more at such a congress, and how do we ensure that there is this change of this mentality or perception?
Okay, that's very interesting. So in terms of understanding the theme, diversity and inclusion, exploring global perspective, for me, that highlights the importance of embracing diversity and inclusion. Very many times when we talk about inclusion, we can talk about financial inclusion, we can talk about social inclusion, and now you bring in the point of also talking about gender as well. There could be someone can easily come and say, well, the accounting profession is too male, by just looking at the numbers, and I'm not going to share numbers right now because I don't want to really make it that much of a sad reality, but it is the reality. Maybe I'm not very conversant with the terrain in the other East African countries. I'm more conversant with Rwanda. The landscape here, you could argue that when you have a bigger representation from the other gender, maybe you feel that there is inclusivity, in terms of hearing the other voice. So I think that we have when you look at the agenda, we have a lot of topics, and some of them have been crafted in a way that they can encourage or trigger conversations around social inclusion and gender, and financial inclusion. Gender, yes. Probably we are going to have a couple of female speakers who probably will also, push on the profession or on the conversation, deliberation to talk about or to consider diverse viewpoints, cultural nuances, ethical frameworks from the world, promoting a more inclusive and culturally aware accounting practice. So that is those. We probably may see a call to action. We probably may see a provocation or a trigger. It's not. This is not a place for activism, but there's going to be some interesting deliberation in that aspect.
Right, and I think what we can say is for those who are interested in being part of this Congress to be able to also put in their own voices to be able to participate.
Definitely.
And we'll talk a bit about how to do that. I'm aware also that despite the overall theme, there are also some other areas of conversation that, will be key starting points for conversations. I'm aware that Africa Agenda 2063 will be part of the conversations. We'll also have something around the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. But I'm also keen on the fact that artificial intelligence is going to be on the table. And we know that a lot of sectors are actually being, disrupted by AI. And I want to understand how the accounting profession, from what you're hearing on the ground when you put your ears on the ground, how is this profession supposed to, like any other, prepare for that disruption?
That's also a very interesting question. Again, like I said, I'll still put out that disclaimer of the fact that I'm not an accountant, but I work with accountants, and since I'm speaking for EACOA, I can attempt to give an appropriate answer in relation to EACOA. So for me, understanding the theme, for example, exploration of global trends. Imagine the emergence of artificial intelligence, or AI as it's commonly known. Not just AI, but new tech applications on how they are disrupting the corporate world. Right now, you can easily give AI a command and it gives you a picture which is close to exactly what you want. For us who are in the communications world, you can use Grammarly to edit the piece that back in the day you probably hire an editor, but right now it's it takes a couple of seconds for you to actually get it edited. Now imagine an accounting software which has been built by certain aspects of AI. The question is how accountants, how are the regional accounting bodies positioning themselves to adapt to these disruptions? Are there policies governing emerging technology trends? I know for a fact that Rwanda, for example, is developing an AI policy, and if you're developing an AI policy, it's not only for the tech savvy, but also for the people who actually use those applications. For example, accounting softwares. So at EACOA, there are a couple of topics from industry experts who have some answers to some of these questions. The theme suggests the exploring of emerging global trends and their challenges, shaping and how they are going to shape the accounting profession. And this year's discussion may include international accounting standards, regulatory frameworks, and also technology advancements, and evolving business models and their implication beyond the national borders. So that's how that's how it's also tied into the theme.
Right. I want to take us back a bit, especially on what I'm sure you've been up to for the last few weeks in the lead up to the fourth EACOA, especially as a person who is working with those who are preparing for this particular Congress. Give us a sneak peek of what's going on in those boardrooms, in those long drives to pick this, to pick that. Just take us through for people who are preparing to come. What should they know in terms of this preparation so that they can appreciate fully when they get here?
We are very, there is a lot of upbeat, excitement. For us in Rwanda, we are extremely very excited that we are bringing on accountants from the region. We have people as far as Botswana coming. That some of them are already registered. And it's going to be exciting. Conversations are rich from a very specialized point of view and also from a layman's point of view. It's going to be a platform of networking. We are looking forward to a week of learning, collaboration. Also we would love our participants to take an opportunity to look at the beauty of Rwanda as well, So there is also the aspect of Visit Rwanda. So karibu sana. So everything is we're quite excited, and the countdown is on.
Right. You've never stopped to be modest. 15 years later, you haven't told us this is what you're going through to prepare for this.
Oh man, it's of course we are on the frying pan because we want to give our participant a seamless experience that is fun, that is enriching. It's also a platform for us to announce certain new products that are going to be in future very relevant to the accounting profession. So our participants should be on the lookout for that. We are having an exhibition area as well. Really, I don't really want to talk much about it, but technical workshops, interactive sessions, covering different topics. As we talked about digital transformation, audit practices, taxation, financial reporting. Really, and a lot more.
It's packed.
It's packed. It's
very
really
packed.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you talk about packed, before I let you go, I think there's what you had alluded to when we were starting this conversation, the list of the speakers and the choice of these speakers who will be speaking. You mentioned Prof. PLO Lumumba. He's a man who doesn't mince his words. He doesn't take any prisoners. He says it as it is. And also Pan-Africanism is what runs in his DNA. I want to hear from you, especially, from the choice of these speakers. And if you could also mention if there are any other that you had not mentioned as you are mentioning them, what was informing this choice of these speakers? What should we expect from them, so that if I'm planning to come, how do I get super excited that I can't wait to miss? I can't miss speaker X, Y.
So we've come up with a very inclusive in terms of the choice of the themes that we've picked. Agenda, and very soon it's going to be confirmed and will be readily available on the EACOA website. But I can promise you that we have a huge amount of diverse speakers. I'm sure Dr. Frederick Golawamtebi. He's a political scientist. We have Viola Sawere, regional trade advisor of the SADC Secretariat. We have Dr. Grace Kamau, CEO of EACOA of Kenya, if I should say it like that. You know, I'm not going to talk about the keynote speakers because sometimes you may have to first get a confirmation, but
Correct.
we have a couple of them listed. We have Miss Vareli Molatedi, hope I've pronounced that very well, the CEO of Botswana Institute of Certified Accountants. We really have, and even back home, we have people who are going to represent us in terms of exploring and unpacking the theme. Some of them from the IT side. I'm sure you know Miss Esther Kunda.
Yes, I do.
She's the Director General of Innovation and Emerging Technologies at the Ministry of ICT. Trust me, there are many. Imagine Innocent Hizi, the CEO of RISA.
Right.
Right. Imagine that kind of conversation. So it's a very exciting agenda, and I can assure you the conversation and the deliberations are going to be very rich.
Very rich.
Yeah,
I can tell from that, and I'm sure you have not actually mentioned even half of them.
No,
Right.
I just give you a tidbit.
Right. Right. Now,
Yeah.
if I want to come to this Congress, what do I need? You mentioned earlier that it's not a must that I be within the accounting profession. Let's talk a bit about, or to that person listening to us or watching us right now, in terms of the requirements, and how do I get to register? What are the platforms that I should go to? Where do I get all the back-to-back updates ahead of this particular Congress?
Okay, so we're trying to make the source or dissemination of information as seamless as possible. You can follow us. We've created a Twitter account specifically for EACOA. It's EACOA 2024. That's the handle. But you can also follow the EACOA Twitter handle, which is you could, if you can just type in EACOA, I'm sure you'll get it. But to be more precise, it's I_CPAR. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. We're very active. We have EACOA News, which is one of our platforms. If you really want to have more information and also to register for EACOA, you can visit our website, the EACOA Rwanda website, which is eacparwanda.com.
Yeah.
And you will see a link, or if you don't want to really go into the nitty-gritty, you can just put a /EACOA, but you'll see a link which will direct you to a registration page for EACOA.
Right.
Yeah, so it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
We are putting up as much content as possible. We've engaged regional media, both broadcast and print. We've engaged business writers and media influencers who are going to be following the deliberations, and we shall be soon sharing their handles and platforms, and anyone can easily follow conversations from those platforms. And the hashtag is so simple, it's EACOA 2024.
EACOA 2024.
Yeah.
Very easy one.
Yes.
I am not shocked. I'm not surprised coming from you, the pro, in choosing that. David, when all is said and done, when everybody lands here in Kigali and eventually pack their bags and go back to their respective countries, and for those who are here in Rwanda going back to their day-to-day businesses, what will you want to be remembered most about EACOA? What is it that, if this is done, then the vision and the mission and the target of EACOA would have been met? What would that be?
I think, again, I'm going to speak as a layman, but EACOA being a flagship event in the region's accounting calendar, we would, for us as EACOA, we want to give a high quality content. We want to provoke and trigger high level discussions of everything that is affecting the accounting profession in the region. We have set up opportunities to attract unparalleled networking opportunities, and like I've told you, you probably will remember this event for having featured some of the the continent's notable keynote speakers. So we want our participants to enjoy Rwanda as well.
Right.
So we want to be remembered for that.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Kezio, David, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for inviting me, and good to see you.
Yeah. Let's keep this conversation
nice.
Going, right?
It's been nice.
Right.
We hope we do another one very soon.
Definitely. We'll definitely do more of this. Thank you very much. And of course, to you who's been listening and also who's been watching, thank you very much for being a part of this conversation. That is David Musoke. He's a communication consultant working behind the scenes with the teams that are actually trying to put together the best experience that you will be experiencing right here at the 4th EACOA. It is the East African Congress of Accountants. We've been trying to unpack the road to EACOA right here as a curtain raiser. Keep it here for more conversations around various topical issues. We'll see you again next time, same place. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.